Before I knew what Silicon Valley was, I had seen a computer. It was December 1979, and our next-door neighbour had brought home a build-it-yourself computer kit. I remember him assembling the device on his living room floor and plugging it into a black-and-white television set. After my neighbour meticulously punched in a series of commands, the screen transformed into a tapestry of blocky pixels. I took the machine in with all the wonder of a 7-year-old. Until then, I had only seen computers depicted in TV shows and movies. Here was one I could touch. But it was more remarkable, I think now, that such a contraption had even got to a small suburb of Lusaka in Zambia in the 1970s. The global supply chain was primordial and remote shopping all but non-existent, and yet the first signs of the digital revolution were already visible. The build-it-yourself kit piqued my interest. 2 years later, I got my own first computer, a Sinclair ZX81, picked up in the autumn of 1981, a year after moving to a small town in the hinterlands beyond London. The ZX81 still sits on my bookshelf at home. It has a footprint of a 7-inch record sleeve and is about as deep as your index and middle fingers. Compared to the other electronic items in early 1980s living rooms, the vacuum-tuned television or large cassette deck, the ZX81 was compact and light. Pick up with your thumb and forefinger light. The built-in keyboard, unforgiving and taut when pressed, wasn't something you could type quickly on. It only responded to stiff, punctuated jabs of the kind you might use to admonish a friend. But you could get a lot out of this little box. I remember programming simple calculations, drawing basic shapes, and playing primitive games on it. This device, advertised in daily newspapers across the UK, was a breakthrough. For £69, we got a fully functional computer. Its simple programming language was, in principle, capable of solving any computer problem, however complicated, although it might have taken a long time. But the ZX81 wasn't around for long. Technology was developing quickly. Within a few years, my computer, with its blocky black-and-white graphics, clumsy keyboard and slow processing, was approaching obsolescence. Within 6 years, my family had upgraded to a more modern device made by Britain's Acorn Computers. The Acorn BBC Master was an impressive beast, with a full-size keyboard and a numeric keypad. Its row of orange special function keys wouldn't have looked out of place on a prop in a 1980s space opera. If the exterior looked different to the ZX81's, the interior had undergone a complete transformation. The BBC Master ran several times faster. It had 128 times as much memory. It could muster as many as 16 different colours, although it was limited to displaying 8 at a time. Its tiny speaker could emit up to 4 distinct tones, just enough for simple renditions of music. I recall it beeping its way through Bach's Toccata Fugue in D minor. The BBC Master's relative sophistication allowed for powerful applications, including spreadsheets, which I never used, and games, which I did. Another 6 years later, in the early 1990s, I upgraded again. By then, the computer industry had been through a period of brutal consolidation. Devices like the TRS-80, Amiga 500, Atari ST, Osborne 1, and Sharp MZ80 had vied for success in the market. Some small companies had short-lived success, but found themselves losing out to a handful of ascendant new tech firms. It was Microsoft and Intel that emerged from the evolutionary deathmatch of the 1980s as the fittest of their respective species, the operating system and the central processing unit. They spent the next couple of decades in a symbiotic relationship, with Intel delivering more computational power and Microsoft using that power to deliver better software. Each generation of software taxed the computers a little more, forcing Intel to improve its subsequent processor. "What Andy giveth, Bill taketh away," went the industry joke. Andy Grove was Intel's CEO, Bill Gates, Microsoft's founder.